Welcome back. My name's James Johnson. This is my lovely mother, LaDonna. We've read the first 5 books of the Song of Ice and Fire series, seen the first 7 seasons of the Game of Thrones show, and the first episode of the 8th season. Tomorrow, the 2nd episode will air, 2 of 6 final episodes. We are talking about theories. We do not know anything. We're just talking about possibilities and things through our conversations that are more or less likely.
Seem to work in the narrative.
Well done. Could, in hindsight, seem obvious. All right, so in this particular one, we're talking about the Archer. So this will play a little bit on the video we did recently called Noble Dishonor, so I'd suggest watching that one. But archers are an important part of the storyline, but have been a little bit put to the side so that it's not quite as obvious that they're that important. The proposal here is that there will be an archer who will play a pivotal part in taking down the final battle. So to cut to the chase, we believe that Theon is the prime candidate, and there's a couple of things to support all of this. Number one, let me go back to The Hobbit. In The Hobbit, at the end of The Hobbit, Smaug leaves the Dwarven kingdom in the mines to go fight the city of Dale on the river, the trading city. And the dragon Smaug is ultimately killed by Bard the Bowman, who shoots his last arrow, if I'm not mistaken, to get the dragon right where it needs to be gotten. So in the TV show, ultimately the books, I feel, is likely, we have scorpions built up, giant crossbows basically with huge bolts. And we've seen it fired twice at a real dragon, once at the statue. It destroys the skull. It destroys the skull, and it did hit Drogon in the shoulder and drop him ultimately. So in the video Noble Dishonor, we talked about the idea that sometimes for the greater good we have to dishonor an oath or a promise. It goes back to Jon. Just go watch it. If Jon were to make the Night's King fight him one-on-one the old way, then that's an opportunity for them to go against the code of that and try to take down the dragon using a scorpion. Scorpion, there's another name for it.
Ballista.
Thank you. That's the proper name for it. If they tipped one of the scorpion's bolts, the ballista bolts, with dragon glass, theoretically a whited dragon would be killed by it. You'd still need to hit. And this goes back to a couple of things. I'll reference, first off, Bronn shoots the flaming arrow at the Battle of Blackwater Bay to light the wildfire on fire. We also have the scene with, and this is a huge one, I think this is one of the most important, with Theon, Bran, the wildlings, and Robb, and one of the wildlings has Bran by the throat with a knife, and Theon shoots an arrow past Robb into the bad guy and kills him, and Theon feels super proud about that moment because he saved Bran, and Robb gets all pissed because he says, "You could have killed him."
Actually, he shot him from behind. Robb was there, so that's another noble dishonor.
Okay. So the point being that if there are 2 dragons with 2 riders fighting for the final battle, and Theon is shooting scorpion bolts to try to kill one of the dragons, well, that's going to get real close to killing the other one. So Noble Dishonor, Theon is an archer. It's been set up multiple times. Also, we get the scene with Arya, head tits. What'd she say? Balls. I got him right where I wanted. He says, "Don't hesitate. Don't draw back your hand. Don't hold your hand. Pull it back and let go." Also, the clear one that sets up the idea that archery is a huge thing is Anguy. He's a part of the Brotherhood Without Banners. He was at the tourney in the first book when Thoros, I believe, wins the all-out battle, the brawl. Anguy wins the archery competition.
That's
and
right.
Without a doubt, this goes back to Robin Hood. If you read Ivanhoe, Robin Hood is a part of that, though he's a bit to the side. But if you go back to the scene in the Robin Hood movie with the cartoon, the scene with the arrow hitting the bullseyes is a throwback directly to the book Ivanhoe. The Robin Hood shoots an arrow into a target way far away and then shoots another arrow and splits that arrow.
Oh, yeah.
But Ann Guy also has the scene with Hot Pie where he says, "That arrow's coming down
On your head, boy.
on your head, boy. So I suggest you move. When I'm done talking, that arrow's coming straight down on your head, boy. So I suggest you move because I'm done talking." And he moves. All right. He also shoots the arrow through the hole. What's behind that wall? A lion, a wolf, some copper thing. Some
Yeah,
copper
lion was Gendry, by the way, because he serves his kid.
So I think that's everything I wanted to cover. I would suggest going back to watch The Noble Dishonor, but a crossbow bolt makes every bit of sense. We've already got it set up. The Scorpion to be something that can kill the dragon. The Night's King specifically kill the dragon, but with a javelin, an ice javelin. And a white gets taken down by dragon glass. The issue is getting the dragon glass into the dragon. A scorpion bolt we've seen pierces the skin, and that's all you really need to do with dragon glass. What would you like to add?
I got a timeline of things to talk about archery.
Oh, I'm so sorry I left out one tiny thing to continue. Egret. Egret is the other example. Egret is about to kill a deer, and Jon says, "You're going to scare it away. You're going to miss and scare it away." And she looks at Jon like, "You totally fucking underestimate me." And then they come back with a deer. There's also the scene with Tormund and Egret arguing, and she references him and Jon in the present as being still alive. And Tormund says, "I thought you said you killed him." No.
He said, if he's alive, it's because you intended him to.
You said you put 3 arrows in him. I did. I've seen you put an arrow through a, what's the name for a rabbit? Coney. I've seen you put an arrow through a coney's eyes at 300 meters. If he's alive, it's because you let him live. It's also the scene where she shoots the tree instead of the idea that archery set up.
And also she dies because, fuckface shoots an arrow through her heart.
He's a kid. And his motivations make every sense. Fuck Ollie's a little kid. I hate that shit so goddamn much. To each their own.
Whatever. At any rate,
I'm a boy. Younger than
I know, it's sad. Yeah, archery throughout this thing. They even talk in the very beginning at Winterfell. Master Lewin's talking to Bran about his lessons, teaching him things. And he goes, you'll be able to do a bow and arrow again. He said, how? He said, well, Dothraki children learned at 4 to shoot an arrow from the back of their horses. And what did we see in the battle? We see the Dothraki riders stand up on their horses and do it. We also, it says in the books that when the Greyjoys actually practiced from a really young age of shooting arrows aboard their ships that are rocked by waves, which is very similar to the Dothraki riders. I mean,
and we don't have cannons.
Oh my God. And
we don't have cannons yet, so shooting arrows from one ship to another are a huge deal.
Yeah, that's right. No gunpowder. We also saw that scene with the Blackfish where Tully couldn't hit the daggone ship. And, he just knocked him out of the way, shot it, and then dropped the mic and walked away. Theon, though, his story is interesting. You start out with the archery in Winterfell. That's what they're doing. They're shooting bow and arrows, and Arya shoots one right past Bran and gets the bullseye. You see him do the archery to save little Bran from the wildlings, as James said. Then they went on a hunt for Bran and Rickon with bows and arrows and swords, and he ultimately killed the 2 farm boys. He also was, quote, saved by Ramsay from Ramsay's own folks with bow and arrows that Ramsay shoots through their heads. And then they hunted women with the bow and arrows when Theon was with Ramsay. He threw Miranda off a tower after she threatened Sansa with a bow and arrow. And then he saved Yara with bow and arrows on last week's episode.
Season 8.
Yeah, episode 1, season 8. The dragonglass arrows were given to Mira by Sam when he met them at the Night Fort. And he hands them to her and says, for the archer.
That's a huge, huge importance.
And then we have, we have the possibility of these people who are experts as archers coming together at the end game. And again, James mentioned this about the ballista. And the last thing I would say is, when we watched Bran mess up in the beginning shooting the arrows, what did Ned say? He said it twice, then and in a vision. Which one of you were an expert at 10?
Which one of you was a marksman at 10?
Was a marksman at 10.
And Arya said to Sansa when they're having their right before she says betrayed by the Lannisters in reference to Ned Stark and you, Arya is telling the story to Sansa of Arya going out alone to the archery area with one arrow, shooting it and going back, and shooting it and going back. Which, if there is only a certain number of ballista bolts with dragonglass on it, it would be limited. And also Ramsay, to show a counter to the noble dishonor, Ramsay being a punk, he would not take Jon's offer of the one-on-one battle, and instead he lured Jon out there by having Rickon run and shooting him with an arrow, and then had Jon almost killed or forced to proceed forward by shooting the slew of arrows beyond Jon, at Jon/beyond Jon.
And at the very end thing, what does he do? He says, let's fight one-on-one, and he starts shooting arrows at Jon in Winterfell. And what kind of shield does Jon pick up? The Mormont shield. Those 62 people came right in handy.
And also, 1-1 breaks in the wall, and Ramsay kills him with one shot to the eye after many, many other shots.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so archery is a big deal. And again, I think it's there for one reason, because somebody's going to kill the dragons with an arch. We've seen the Night King kill him with the ice spear.
Oh, we totally also forgot the crossbow bolt, the crossbow that Joffrey had built, which is a new type of technology and arguably a foreshadowing of the scorpion to kill, because it's a crank in order to get it enough tension in the
and what did he shoot it through?
And he shot it through, it shot it through the boar, but he killed the prostitute also with it. And Tyrion took the crossbow in order to kill his father. Yeah. Also, Bronn gets handed the same crossbow. It might not be the same crossbow, but a similar crossbow when in the last episode, Qyburn told.
Which, by the way, I don't think was Cersei's
We'll get into it in the video. We talk about the episode. Yes, sorry. I'm not trying to cut you off. Okay. I am trying to cut you off.
Yeah.
So, anyway, point is, in noble dishonor, Theon, the archer, archery is extremely important, and with a scorpion with a dragonglass tip, a lot can be done, especially in the final battle.
Yeah, this archery theme has to do with killing the dragons, you guys. I mean, it's about the battles, but it's also, don't forget, James mentioned it, Arya knows how to shoot a bow and arrow too. Now, she's got Gendry making her some detachable kind of sword.
That's another thing. Gendry was specifically handed arrow heads that would pierce armor, and told at the which is a different kind of arrowhead, referencing dragonglass being a different kind of arrowhead. When he's with the Brotherhood Without Banners, they hand him a particular type of arrowhead, and
he said it's a bodkin point.
Whatever it is, it's intended to pierce armor.
He said, "Can you make it?" He said, "I just need enough
steel. Just need the right kind of steel," which is a reference to the dragonglass, arguably.
Well, it's a reference to him being able to fashion something that could kill a dragon.
Make it for a scorpion bolt. Thank y'all.
Snap.
Love you.
Love you. Bye.
Bye.